Hey brothers, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about culture, faith, and manhood and how we navigate this world without losing what God called us to be. And I found an article. The reason why I'm making this video is I read this article and something didn't sit right with me. For one, it's like this band. Just look at this title. I slowly and quietly destroyed my marriage. I'd do anything to get it back. All right, sounds like maybe some 90s song or something like that. And we know that a lot of times, in most cases, it takes more than it's not just one person, and so every day on this sub caption, every day I ask myself one question: how can I love her today, even if she never comes back? And the author is Logan Durrell. And I read this entire article, and at the end it says that it's a pseudonym, so it's not his real name. But as I read through the article, I wondered if a guy actually even wrote it. And as we look through it, you'll see. And if you're like me, I'm 53. I'm a Gen Xer, and I've been married twice. Yeah, that's right. I love the punishment so much I had to do it again. But for those of you that have been married once before, maybe you've been married more than once, or maybe you're even thinking about it, some of these things may resonate with you. And, if you really love somebody, there are definitely some things that you probably say, well, I could have done this differently, but to put it all on yourself, that's an issue. That's an issue, and I think any marriage counselor will tell you that. And again, for those of us that were raised in a certain generation, we used to put the onus on our backs. It's all our fault, that type of thing, and yeah, people would want to just blame you for it, or blame us for it. It's always Jermaine's fault, type of thing. But in this day and age, what we're looking at now, the way the stats are, 80% of divorces are filed by women. And if you ask them, why, whenever they put on the cause, it's always irreconcilable differences for the most part. It's never, he cheated on me, or he was abusive, I got to get away from him. A lot of times you don't have to do much. As CGA coach Greg Adams would say, she's just, I'm not happy, and that's usually enough to, to say, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. But this is in the Huffington Post. I want to go through it and react to it, and maybe you can see some things. And if this was you, just know, I know for myself personally that, again, getting out of a marriage, particularly, with my first one, yeah, I could say there are some things I could have done differently, but to take the entire, and say that it's all my fault, and then now that I'm some years removed from that marriage, I can look in there and I can definitely say, yeah, I did some things wrong, but I did a heck of a lot of things that were right, and to just put it all on you. I slowly and quietly destroyed my marriage. Did you really? And I'd like to know, okay, well, how did we do that? So let's look through this here. All right. And it starts off, he says, I could tell you my marriage ended, but that wouldn't be the whole story. The truth is, I slowly and quietly destroyed my marriage by convincing myself everything was fine. I'm an average guy. I had a good job. I showed up physically. I paid the bills. I provided. I thought that was enough. I thought love was something you earned once and then just had. Now, a lot of men have been through this, because again, this is basically who we all are. We're pretty much all average guys. You know, we got jobs. We're there, and you pay the bills. Okay, pretty much that's the bedrock of the foundation of what you do when you get married. You know, those are the things that are expected. Those are some of those things that are critical. And I mean, I believe that a lot of women really mess up the 80-20 type of rule when it comes to relationships. Again, if you're getting, and that 80-20 rule is, if you're getting 80% of what you want out of the relationship, you know, 20% you may not be getting. And there is no relationship where you're going to get 100%. You know, so he's an average guy. It means he's not out there cheating. Okay. A lot of women aren't falling over themselves to get at him. He had a good job, so he's making decent money. He's there. He comes home every day. He pays the bills. All right. Now, so then we have to look at what is he not giving? And was that worth a divorce? All right. So he goes on to say that he thought that love was something you earned once and then just had. And he says, well, I was wrong. Okay. All right. So now he's just going into, okay, that last bit. Okay. He could have done better. Okay. Was that worth? How did he destroy his marriage? Okay. So he says he grew up in a small town in rural Western Kentucky. Nothing against Kentucky. Raised in a church by a devoted mother. All right. Doesn't mention anything about a dad. Faith was familiar. Scripture was familiar. People watched me grow up and assumed I'd be fine. And I assumed it too. Okay. So says that his parents got divorced when he was 5. And after that, he saw his father maybe 3 times before he died. No birthdays, no calls, no effort. Although we really don't know that. For years, he lived a mile from me and I never knocked on his door. I didn't have the courage. We joked about it when we drove by his house, but jokes are sometimes just a mask for pain. And I don't know who he's talking about when he says we joked about it when we drove by his house. I don't know if it was his mom or he was talking about his former wife. Okay, and he says there was no cause and no effort. And I mean, hey, in a situation like mine, you know, my ex tried to keep the kids from me, things like that. So really, who knows? All right. And he says what? I didn't realize then how much that absence shaped me. And I learned how to be likable, how to avoid confrontation, how to be fine instead of honest. Now, I don't know. This, men don't necessarily do that. Okay. Usually you are who you are. You know, it's kind of difficult to hide, particularly as a young man, you know, in a lot of cases, at least as far as I'm concerned. I mean, again, I'm just reacting, you know, to all of this. All right. So he's just going through his background. So he was raised in church. Okay. That's not to say that he was saved or he truly believed what he was hearing, you know, or learning in church. But he says scripture was familiar. All right. So he didn't realize how much the fact that his dad wasn't there shaped him. You know, he doesn't say that his mom tried to put him in touch with his dad, you know, or anything like that. So we wonder. No cause, no effort. I don't know. It's not like a man to abandon his kids, especially a boy. You know, so hey, we don't know. It's only speculative. Maybe his mom didn't want him there. We don't know. All right. But then he met her. So we're assuming, I guess now he's saying that he was a broken individual. And because he was missing his dad, there were some things he never learned in his life. But his dad was gone at 5. You know, he doesn't give any reasons as to why his folks divorced, you know, or anything like that. I mean, my thing is this. I mean, if someone's gonna leave you, again, if you're an average guy, you got a good job, you show up physically and you pay the bills and you provide it, and he says that he earned someone's love, and he says that I earned it once and thought that I just had it and that he was wrong. My thing is, then that person never really loved you to begin with, because I mean, love isn't something that you lose. Again, he grew up in church, and that's one of the things that's always taught in church. Whether it's loving your enemy, love others as I've loved you. The scripture says that the world's going to know us by our love, and then all of a sudden someone leaves or wants a divorce because they don't love you anymore. So anyway, it goes, then I met her when she walked into church one Sunday. So he met this woman at church, all right, in a red dress back in the summer of 2014. The world stopped, and I still see it clearly. Third row from the back, sliding past her family to the middle of the pew. She didn't know what she did to me just by walking in. I remember thinking, don't screw this up. She had a way of making rooms feel warmer without trying, a confidence that wasn't loud, a softness that wasn't weak. She laughed easily, but she also carried depth. She noticed people, she listened, she remembered things that I forgot. And when I told her that I loved her and she said it back, something settled deep in me. And well after my heart exploded in my chest, it felt safe, certain, like I had finally landed somewhere. Okay. So he already feels like that he's not complete. Okay. And he's already put this woman on the pedestal. He doesn't even know her. All right. But hey, she walked into church. She's in church. All right. He loved her in ways, he said, I loved her in ways that were quiet and ordinary. I loved how she moved through the world. She loved the beach. I loved watching her stand at the edge of the water, red swimsuit with white trim, dipping her toes in and hesitating. She was terrified of sharks and whatever else she thought might await her out there. She would cling to me as I pulled her farther out, trusting me even when she was afraid. I loved the way she looked at night when everything was quiet, wearing one of my t-shirts, ratty pajama shorts, hair is a mess, no makeup. No one had ever looked better without makeup. Standing at the edge of the bed, rubbing lotion on her arms, talking about something small that felt important just because she was saying it. I would watch her and think, this is it. And still, I didn't protect it. Again, so just like, all right, all right, we'll just keep going. Like, where is it going with this? So he thinks a lot of her. Okay, so he cares. Again, like I said, if a man actually wrote it, and still I didn't protect it. So all the blame is going on him. Like, okay, so she didn't do anything wrong. There wasn't nothing there, no flaws at all that you just overlooking here. Okay, I loved her voice. I loved the way she sang karaoke without fear. I loved how she laughed at herself. I loved how hard she tried and how much she gave. Okay, all right. How she laughed at herself. I loved how hard she tried and how much she gave. And I figured that's important because now he's saying, okay, well, she tried. I didn't try hard enough. She gave a lot. I didn't. Okay, but again, you're the one that's out there working. Okay, and men are different than women. I loved her, and so we can that's pretty much shown through what's written here. And again, gentlemen, brothers, again, how many of you all have been here? I mean, I've been here. Okay, if someone loves you and you know they love you, why are you leaving? Because you're not getting what you feel like you should be getting, or getting something the way you feel like you should get it. Again, he's faithful. He pays the bills. He's home every day. She knew or knows that he loves her. Okay? And then she'll leave anyway. Okay, and that's what we're facing, in this modern era. All right. I mean, if you're a Gen Xer, remember that. That's right. We're moving. Hold on. We'll probably get there. All right. Okay. And then it reads, okay. And then years later, when she said yes to my proposal. Okay. So they're not even married. All right. But you met her in the church. So again, if you know, if you're in the church, okay, and the way the church ministers, at least definitely in the way I was brought up and the way most of us were brought up, okay, you shouldn't be living together. You shouldn't be shacking together, those types of things. You know, the ethics and morals of it. If you love somebody, then yes, you commit to them, you know, and you ask them, you know, to marry you. He's gone years. You know, if you believe that she was the one and he already said that this is it, you know, paragraphs up. So if he loved her then, it's like, okay, why didn't you propose to her, you know, sooner than this? All right. And but I guess she was okay with it. She was going on with it. But he's like, she said yes to my proposal. So again, do we really know how she felt? Did she just feel like he was safe? You know, he's making decent money. He has a good job. He's predictable. He's an average guy. He loves me. You know, so yes, I'll do this. All right. I didn't stop loving her. Start reading up again. I didn't stop loving her. I stopped being careful with her heart. Okay. What are we talking about here? How did he stop being careful with the heart? He says, I stopped listening the way I used to. I stopped noticing when she was tired. I stopped hearing what she was really saying. I defended myself instead of protecting us. I crossed lines I knew better than to cross. I hid things because honesty felt inconvenient. Okay. So again, he doesn't go into any details with this though. You know, sometimes, things get familiar, when you're with someone for a while. The honeymoon is over. You're actually getting into actually being with someone. But those are always the ups and downs of any relationship over a period of time. And those that have been married long enough to know will tell you that. Okay. But any relationship always comes to me, rather it comes back to the commitment that you made. What lines were crossed? He doesn't really say. I defended myself instead of protecting us. What is he talking about there? Okay, and he doesn't really elaborate. I hid things because honesty felt inconvenient. Okay, things like what? Though I didn't lose my wife all at once, I lost her in pieces. For 10 years, I quietly gave her hell. Okay, how? Through defensiveness, through distraction, through choosing comfort over connection. Through the nights, I chose screens, hobbies, or me time over sitting next to her, through moments where she needed my presence. And again, like I said, to me, man, that doesn't really sound like a guy, no, to me on this, because we don't really do all that. Very few, if a guy has a family, when he comes home from work, pretty much he's with the family. At least, that, and again, I can only look at myself. When a guy is working, he comes home, it's still about the family. We work to do things for the family. We work to get things for the family. We're the ones with the beat up car, and we get our wives, the best car. We're the ones that make sure she has all the good clothes while we have all the ratty ones with the holes in them, because we don't really care like that. Our thing is, is my family okay? And sometimes, we don't talk that much, things like that. But I chose screen time, hobbies, or me time. Like, in other words, he's living like the way he's talking, like I live like I'm single. I choose screens. What was he watching porn? Was she not putting out or giving out with? And again, he doesn't say that. Over sitting next to her or being with her. All right, through moments where she needed my presence. So again, that really doesn't sound right. No, to me. So she warned me. She told me she was tired. She told me she felt alone. She told me she was losing feelings. Usually when a woman says that, there's another person in the ring anyway. Like she's getting ready to cheat. She said it more than once, more than twice. I treated those words like background noise, something to address later, something that could wait. It sounds like I'm not happy. Okay. I thought love would wait. And again, that's just not what we would say. That's not how we think. All right. So on Christmas morning, 2025, everything looked normal. The kids were laughing, wrapping paper everywhere, a life built together, doing what it had always done. But when I looked at her, her eyes were empty, not angry, not sad, just done. Okay. I saw it and ignored it. So Christmas morning, the kids are doing their thing. She's looking crazy. She's not happy for the kids. She's done. Okay. And so she's already checked out emotionally. I believe she was probably cheating. Okay. So I saw it and I ignored it. When she asked me to leave, I told myself it was temporary. I said what I needed to say to get back to feeling comfortable. A week later, it wasn't temporary anymore. Listen, if a woman asks you to leave, you don't leave. That's admitting guilt. There's no way I bought a bed and you telling me to leave that bed? Please. You leave. And it's all right with me. I lay out like Jesus on the cross. I'm sleeping good. It's like, nah, how you gonna ask me to leave when I paid everything? I told myself it was temporary. I said what I needed to say to get back to feeling comfortable. A week later, it wasn't temporary anymore. Okay. I moved into an apartment. Friends told me I'd be home soon. I wanted to believe them, but something inside me knew I wouldn't be. There's a special kind of loneliness that comes from grieving someone who is still alive. Your brain lies to you and tells you that there is hope because she's breathing, because you can still see her, but your heart knows when something sacred has already left the room. Finally, the lights came on. Years ago, my mom bought me glasses to help me improve my color blindness. Okay, let me skip this part. It didn't really have anything to do with anything. Anyway, I saw everything clearly. The love she gave, really. Her patience, really. Her effort. Listen, if that's true, my thing is, because also from my experience, if that woman isn't happy, all right, there's nothing going on in that bed. All right. And you mean to tell me that through all of this time, okay, was she really putting out? All right. And if she was it by duty, or some obligation type of sex, which really isn't any fun at all? Was it a sexless marriage, for you during this time? Because more than likely, I think she was probably with somebody else if that was the case. All right. But these are also excuses that we give ourselves, when we feel like we've done something wrong, from leaving the house to saying, I understand why she's, why she's not having any bedroom fun with me, all of those things, we'll push that under the rug. We'll make it out to be our fault. Okay. Again, just really rolling over, never really exerting any type of authority inside of the house, inside of that. It's like she was a perfect angel. She never did anything wrong, when there should be accountability on both sides. Men, for the most part, don't do a lot of talking, and if she knew his upbringing where his father wasn't there, but his mother was, okay, he asked her to marry him. She said yes. And again, inside of the church, those are just the things that you accept. So you mean to tell me that, again, you're getting 80% of what you want and you know that you're being loved, but you're not getting everything that you want inside of what, the way that you want it. And you're going to leave that. So my thing is, okay, well, so what happens then after he's gone? He has to pay child support. Is he still paying for the house? Who knows? He probably was. Because see what we got going on here. I realized I didn't lose her suddenly. I lost her slowly, choice by choice. I let the pain, sleepless nights, knots in my stomach, a heaviness that didn't lift when the sun came up. Somewhere in that pain, I began to change. Not to win her back, I changed because I couldn't live as that man anymore. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm learning not to waste time on things that just fill gaps in today, but to focus on the things that truly make an impact in my life. I have learned to lean on God in a way that I never have in my life. I've learned I'm sorry has to be more than just words. I'm learning to be a man. Really. Have you ever heard a woman say, I'm learning to be a woman inside of a relationship? Again, with that statement alone, I'm learning to be a man. So either he's that just sounds like something a woman would say. You're the same man that you've always been. But men have flaws. Okay, we all have flaws. We're always learning. Okay, but again, what did you do that warranted a divorce? Okay, and again, you say you're in the church. The church, understanding that, okay, if someone is cheating, yeah, sure, that's divorce worthy. Scripture says that. Okay, and again, if you're getting your head not between a washer and a dryer, yes, you leave, due to abuse. Okay, but were you truly neglected? Okay, were you truly neglected? And and our parents came up in a time, again, I'm a Gen Xer, but the way our parents came up, my father would tell my mom, my mom's like, honey, do you love me? My dad's like, well, I ain't leave you. So he went out and he worked every day. He came home every day. He gave her his check and let her do with it what needed to be done. Okay, he trusted her. Okay, but was he the lovey-dovey, hug you, I love you type of man? No, he wasn't. And he wasn't like that with us as his kids either. But we knew he loved us. We knew he cared by what he did. Okay, was he the perfect man? No. But he didn't cheat on my mom. Okay, he wasn't abusing my mom. Okay, he worked hard every day to provide for his family. Okay, and now we got this guy saying, I'm learning to be a man. Nah, I don't think a man wrote that. All right. Every day I ask myself one question: how can I love her today, even if she never comes back? Sometimes that means prayer, sometimes silence, sometimes restraint, sometimes doing the right thing, knowing that she'll never see it and never know. Why didn't she pray? Where was Christian counseling, inside of all of this? Okay, what happened to long suffering and sticking and staying? Okay, because a man that will provide and come home to you every night, okay, is those men are difficult to find. And if she's trying to get out there in the marketplace, it doesn't even say how old they were, but she's also got kids. What are the chances that she's going to find another man that's going to commit to her the way that he did? If that's the case. All right. Let's see. Our old home feels different now. I see unfinished projects, cracks I never fixed, the effort postponed because I thought there would always be time. There wasn't. I wish I had been more present. I wish I had soaked in the moments instead of multitasking my way through them. I wish I had taken more time, more pictures, more videos. I still love her deeply, probably always will. Don't know what tomorrow will look like. Let's see. If my story keeps one man from assuming love will wait, from believing tomorrow is guaranteed, then something good came from the wreckage. And again, we really still don't know what that wreckage is. He never defined it. Okay, he didn't say he went out there drinking. He wasn't out there partying. Okay, he still came home. Okay, he did things in the house. Okay, but goodness, you said she tried. Did she ever say, let's take a vacation? Because since you just left the house because she said so, I'm sure if she would have said, let's take a vacation, you probably would have done that. You know, try to rekindle some things, you know, things like that. But again, I just wanted to just do a reaction to that, because again, it just ticked me off, because again, I've been through this, you know, and we as men, we try real hard to satisfy these women in our lives. We don't need it. Okay, you take any man, for the most part, you see a man who's well dressed and who has all of these things. In most cases, particularly when we were younger, it was always to attract women. And then if we happened to get one, we used it to keep them, make sure that they were happy. Okay, in the later stages of our lives, when we're older and they've left, okay, we may do it just for our own happiness and satisfaction. But for the most part, we as men don't need much. We don't require much. And when it comes to a woman, all we're asking for is someone that we find attractive, okay, someone who's respectful, you know, someone who's affectionate to us. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's so many things that we probably could ask more when it comes to them, but usually if we have those things, that's usually enough. Nothing else is really the, you know, to say, oh, well, nah, I can't deal with that. You know, the fact that she can't cook, that she's not the best cook, that she doesn't clean up the best or anything like that. But hey, when she comes home, you know, she's agreeable, she's lovable, you know, she asks us how our day was, those types of things. We'll deal with that. Everything else, you know, we could even do together, you know, when it comes to cooking and cleaning and those types of things. We don't ask for a lot, never have. But yet those things have become difficult, you know, to get with. It's Christmas Day, according to this article, and she's upset. She's not even happy for the kids. You know, it's all about this guy. And one thing that, you know, so if you're a guy and you've been through this, because again, I have been through this. I have seen this in my own relationships. Okay. And again, it was always about she wasn't getting what she felt like she should get. But she was getting the things that mattered the most. Okay. She had stability. She had, you know, she had, you know, she had loyalty. Okay. There are just some things that I didn't do right. And there are some things that you didn't do right. This guy in this article, again, if it's a guy, okay, he's putting all the blame on himself, as if she didn't do anything wrong. And it's like no accountability, you know, for her. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say regarding this. So again, as you heard me sort of react to this, gentleman, like I said, I mean, we can take responsibility, but to put it all on our shoulders, why our marriages fail when we're dealing with a whole lot of other things as well, it takes two. You know, never take total responsibility for a marriage breaking apart. We all can look at certain things, but what I learned in Christian counseling was you put an X on the other person and you look at yourself, because we can't make others happy. You're responsible for your own happiness. Okay, everyone is. Okay, we all have responsibilities inside of relationships, and it looks like he was doing 100% of what he was supposed to do, you know, as a husband. Okay, the intangibles is where things were messing up. And again, those are things that could have been worked on because the foundation was there. So if this was you, you know, it was me, I destroyed my marriage, you know, you probably didn't. Okay, because a lot of times when you're doing all of these things, okay, she's out playing around in some cases. or, she's just thinking, in other crazy ways. Again, if they're supposed to be Christians, I mean, the Bible tells us all how to think, and long suffering means, yes, someone did something and they didn't do it, I go back to them again. Jesus said this about forgiveness. When Peter asked, well, God, Jesus, if someone offends me, how many times should I forgive them? 7 times? And Jesus said, no, 7 times 70 in one day. In other words, your forgiveness is unlimited. And they were in the church, so they say. So the fact that she would not give him that forgiveness and look at what he was doing and looking at his effort, okay, pretty much just shows that he was really, at the end of the day, with a selfish woman. So Logan Durrell, if this is you, if that's truly who you are, you didn't slowly and quietly destroy your marriage like that. Okay, there are some things that you may have done, but you didn't destroy it. Okay, she walked out of it when she decided that, hey, I don't like this. I'm not happy and I'm not taking it. That's not who we as men would do, though. No, that's not how we operate. For the most part, if a man is in a marriage, he's in it for the long term. Okay, we promise, for sickness and in health, richer for poor, for better or for worse. And when worse came, okay, she took off. You didn't. All right, so the blame would really be on her. So I hope by this time you've healed, gone on with your life, travel overseas, found you a Filipina. That's what I did. All right. And all is well with the world. So let me hear your comments. This is one of my first few videos trying out this YouTube thing for the first time. So if you have anything that you want to add, you can share in the comments. Peace.